Hello, and welcome to Personality. I'm your host, Lori Rawlings, and I'm very excited about this episode because I'm interviewing two rock star women in the construction industry in Wisconsin. Kilah Engelke is a cement mason by trade who was recently elected the first woman business manager for the Operative Plasterers and Cement Masons International Association, or OPCMIA Local 599 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. She is also the co-founder of empowHER, which is a nonprofit organization dedicated to making tradeswomen visible and normalizing the role of women in construction. Welcome, Kilah.
Thanks a lot, Lori. It's great to be here.
And my other guest is Christina Breitlow, who is a plumber currently working as a foreman for Mattox Plumbing in Madison, Wisconsin. She is also the co-founder and vice president of empowHER. And she also serves as the recording secretary and a labor representative for the Joint Apprenticeship and Training Committee for Plumbers Local 75 here in Wisconsin. Welcome, Christina.
Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
I'm happy to have both of you. Thank you for making the time to be here. So I'm going to ask both of you, could you start by telling us a little bit about how each of you got into the trades? And why don't we start with Kilah?
Sure. How I got into the trades is I intended to fund my college education by jumping onto a heavy highway road building crew. My stepdad was an estimator for this big contractor that was in the area called James Cape and Sons, and he put me on a crew to, like I said, pay for college. And I just kind of learned more and more and took on, different opportunities until I decided to take my 1 year off from school to figure out what I wanted to do. And that year off turned into kind of like history for me. So. But that's how I got in, was a family member, and little did I know, I didn't even know this job was a job until I started doing it. So
that's awesome. What about you, Christina?
Kind of similar. So I was attending college. I was going to UW Oshkosh. I was in my junior year, so I was, 2.5 years in, and I had changed my major at least seven times, I think.
Oh my.
And my dad is also a plumber. I'm actually a fourth generation plumber. So at that point, he was like, you obviously don't know what you want to do. You're always wanting to be out and about, and you like to be challenged physically and mentally. Maybe you should try a trade. He just wanted me to put my name on any apprenticeship list. But having that built-in mentor as a parent when you're going into something very unknown was appealing to me, so I applied for the plumbing apprenticeship.
That's great. So both of you were on a college path. What was it about the trades that you found more appealing than the college path and, working in an office?
I'll say definitely the ability to be active and to be competitive. I am a part of one of the most physical trades for sure, but just the excitement of being on a different job or, being challenged to get really good at a new skill or even learn a new skill. And then, also kind of be able to look back and see what you guys accomplished as a team at the end of the day. But all of these different factors of the physical part of work and the teamwork aspect of construction work were, something that kept drawing, most of what kept drawing me in, and the money. I mean, I was 20 years old, 18 years old. That's over 20 years ago, making, over $20 an hour. And it wasn't about the paycheck for me at that point. But then, when I saw my first paycheck, I was like, holy cow, really make a lot of money here. So, I mean, all kinds of different parts of it were really cool to me.
Yeah. What about you, Christina?
A lot of the teamwork aspect and being physically challenged. I have never been someone that's really excited to go to school every day. Even in high school and grade school, I was there to make sure I could make it to whatever sports practice I was in at the time. Mm-hmm. So just being able to be physically active and outside, and also being able to watch what you're building instead of, maybe taking a million gen ed classes that are going to have nothing to do with your end result in college. And, I have a hard time working on things that aren't going to do anything for me in the end. So taking a bunch of gen ed classes was frustrating. But yeah, the teamwork aspect of it, I think, is a big thing, especially when you played a lot of sports in high school and college. So
Totally. So, Kilah, you mentioned briefly the paycheck, and I'd like to kind of pick up on that a little bit because I think a misconception that a lot of people who aren't in the trades or don't know anyone in the trades have is that it's not a good paying career. Can you talk in general terms or even specific terms if you want about how much a tradesperson makes and, some of the benefits of being in the trades?
Yeah, for sure. So we all, as apprenticeship, we hold true to the model of like earning while you learn. So that's one of the right off the top benefits when you're a part of training. Every member of the union contributes a little bit into what we call our training funds, and those are managed by all of the interested parties. So it's like our money that we manage, but a huge part of it is that we all as members take pride in being able to provide that education and that training and continued education for journey workers alike, not just the new apprentices, but we're investing in our future, and we're investing in kind of like passing along the trade. So to earn while you learn means you don't have any debt to any type of institution, and you're also getting a paycheck while you're doing it. So, I can speak on behalf of my trade, which I know like a first year apprentice at this point starts at around 60% of journeyman wage, and that's like almost $26-27 an hour right now. And that's what you take home on your check. Additionally to that, which I did not care about when I was a beginning apprentice, when I was 18 years old, but you're also contributing into your health and welfare fund, which means you're getting qualified into your health insurance, which is a huge, that's a huge benefit. And then the pension. So you're saving for the future. Each and every hour that you work gives you a credit towards that pension, which varies, the amount that it earns you kind of like is managed throughout the course of your career, and it changes a little bit here and there, but you're always able to, every single hour that you work, you're padding those benefit funds that include the training fund too. So you're having all of this happen on your behalf, and what you have to do is show up to your job and show up to the work. The wage is enough, and it's great, but like double that is what you're actually, what you're actually earning. That what the contractor actually contributes on your behalf is double what you see from take home. So great money. And like I said, I can, speak for the digits and the numbers in my own trade, but there's 16, 17 other trades that all have kind of a different breakdown, but we're all kind of the same in how we, offer these family sustaining wages and earn while you learn. And we have the healthcare and pensions and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, thanks for breaking that down for us. Christina, you and Kilah both mentioned that you had a mentor, a family member who got you into the trade. Can you speak a little bit about the importance of having mentorship in the trades?
Yeah, absolutely. So having mentorship in the trades is so important. I got my apprenticeship during kind of a strange time. It was 2010, so there wasn't a lot of work, and there wasn't a lot of people in the apprenticeship program at the time. And I feel very lucky that I was able to get my apprenticeship during that time. And it also gave me the opportunity to work one-on-one with some really, really great journey people. I had my dad at home, but he wasn't in the field anymore and had been out of the field for quite a long time. So our other local 75 members that I got to work one-on-one with and show me all the tricks of the trade and stick up for me and to kind of show me how to live within this culture. I was so grateful to them, and I am still so grateful to them. And I don't think I would be half the plumber that I am today without several different guys that really took me under their wing and showed me the way, and just not just the skills and the tools, but a cultural change as well. So very important.
So I think that leads really perfectly into my next question for both of you, which is what led you to found empowHER?
Sure. I mean, there's it's a really kind of like glaring thing that the industry needs, as people age out and um, as we see barriers have arisen in just like in this industry for sure. We're still non-traditional, but there's definitely a huge effort that's going towards making it known to women and people of diverse backgrounds that like they have a place here, no matter what you look like, no matter how big you are, how small you are, no matter your gender or any of that kind of stuff. And I feel like it was like the time was right. We have in the Milwaukee area, we have a building trades president that he's really into kind of like getting, this diverse population involved and making it what's going to keep us alive in the future is new blood and new faces and new types of people, making our job sites look like our communities. But I would say, one of the most important twists was that we had that advocacy on our side and kind of like pushing that like now is the time. And he definitely helped to initiate kind of like, all right, guys, like we have this set up and we need to kind of like make use of it. And, that was, having somebody like that at a leadership level, I feel like was kind of critical, like the critical boost that we needed to just like try it out and get this thing, running, get it like.
Kilah had kind of approached people that she wanted to start this group with. So her and Dan came together, and then she reached out to me through one of our business agents, but it seemed to me that it was all of a sudden the platform that was there, the timing was there, and there was women in the industry that were in roles that they had done the work, they had come up through the ranks and were seeing themselves in leadership roles. And it was a great time to start to really push that narrative of making our job sites look like our communities and having the male allies within our unions and the building trades was essential to me and Kilah getting together and the rest of the ladies that co-founded empowHER being together and getting to know each other and starting to normalize women in the workforce. So
awesome.
And I'll add too, a huge, I mean, Christina mentioned, people that had been in the field or been in, it was always important. There's always been, women, groups of women or whatever that came together. But one of the things that we needed to focus on, we wanted to make sure it wasn't a waste of anybody's time, or it wasn't like, hey, we're going to get together and eat snacks and chat. We wanted to have a focus and we wanted to have like a reason that we were getting together. So to make sure that there was, if it was content, if it was important conversations, or that we wanted to be making a difference. So we needed, the involvement, like she said, of all the right people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that timing aspect of it was really important.
So what are some of the things that empowHER works on?
So we have, I guess if you want to say like three main kind of like goals for our group. And the first one would be outreach. So projecting to the communities that there are women that are in these jobs that are, supporting themselves and having good careers and that they can do it too. So showing that we're here. Retention. We intend to be a network for, all the women in the industry that want to bounce ideas off of each other, that want to help each other navigate things that they may have navigated before. Christina talked a little bit about mentoring. Like we could have good mentors. Some of like Christina and I both did, and good experiences, but some people don't, and some people didn't, and some people might have a little bit of a tougher culture situation. So that retention piece where it's like one of the barriers might be, how do I communicate? How do I earn respect? How do I navigate this, situation before I decide to quit? That's one of our goals, or definitely our priorities. And then the third is promoting a path to leadership. So if there was, something that you needed to help like navigate your union rules or your constitution or Robert's Rules of Orders, or just, getting a boost in confidence by being able to be a part of some type of workshop or a class that we hold or a conversation. So those are kind of our three main, if you want to say, the goals of our program.
And then also to add on to that, as we're reaching towards those 3 goals, our other goal is to always have positive solutions to issues that may arise in the field. So tough things are going to happen in every job. What we want to do is be able to have that tough conversation, come up with constructive and positive outcomes from those tough situations. So it's very important that we stay on the positive side of things most of the time. So
I know what you mean, because I've definitely been part of groups where it can be very negative, where it just turns into kind of a complaining session versus something constructive, like, okay, how are we going to build on that? So I appreciate you making that point, that one of the goals is to give people tools to create a constructive outcome when they're facing challenges in the profession. So I know that one of the key issues that empowHER has been working on is childcare. Can you tell us a little bit more about why that's important?
I mean, childcare is a barrier and is an issue for all types of industries, but it's a little bit more unique and potentially more of a barrier, a taller barrier for the construction industry for a few reasons. Obviously, there's the variable start times and finish times. So we could possibly start at 6 in the morning, but maybe your job is an hour away from your house. So that's, dropping off your child at daycare at 5 in the morning. A lot of them don't open that early. And then, what happens like in my sector of the industry, if it's like 5 o'clock in the afternoon and there's a concrete truck on the road waiting to get there still, like you never know when something like that's going to happen. And like some of the trades are a little bit more consistent with how they run or whatever, but also one thing that's consistent across the trades is that if you have a day that you don't work, maybe it's due to weather, maybe it's due to scheduling or lack of materials or poor planning or whatever, you can't not send your kid to daycare and not pay for the spot. You still have to keep the kid in, you have to still pay for the spot whether you keep your child home or not. But you're not going to get paid if you're not going to work. So that's an interesting part of our, industry. I would say there's definitely a barrier in the culture of having to be accommodated. So, if you're one of the folks that you're like, okay, I have to drop my daughter or son off at daycare at, 6 in the morning, that's the earliest I can get there. And I still have 20 minutes before I can get to the job. Like that means you're starting at 6:30 when the rest of the crew may have started at 6. So, that means that they have to make an exception for you. And that's, like I said, the culture of that isn't necessarily awesome all the time. So it could affect how much money you make. That could affect how money, which with every hour, is a benefit credit. So that could affect your ability to have health care or not. It affects your W-2 at the end of the year, how much money you're able to make. Like it's a pretty serious, situation that people face. And then additionally, the fact of just the fact of the matter is that people may travel to one job site one day and then maybe they're, at another job site for 3 months. And then maybe you're back somewhere else. There's so many variables that just make it, exceptionally challenging for construction folks that, it was important that we do something about it. As far as financially, oftentimes even our first year apprentices are overqualified as far as wages to get any other type of assistance. Right. Which is a big deal. And like I said, your dollars and cents per hour is what they're going to look at, but not the end of the year wage that you made when you had to call in sick or you had to take the day off because your little baby has a fever or a, messy type of diaper or all of these other things that can prevent you from like being able to drop your child off. So I don't know. It's something that is a barrier for families. That's one of the things that's critical to understand too. It's not just women. And typically it falls on the woman. So that's kind of like how we got our little niche.
Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned that it's not just an issue for women. I mean, I would imagine that there are men in the construction industry that you've worked with on the childcare issue who also are looking for help with that. Is that true?
Oh yeah, half of the recipients are men in our childcare. We offer a voucher system, so straight up stipend, pay for half if you're an apprentice, and you're using a registered care center, which means they're a business or they have some kind of like tax ID. We're going to pay for half of your care for up to a year, and then if you're with an unregistered situation, meaning an auntie, a grandma, a mom, whatever family member, friend, or whatever takes care of your kids during the day, we offer a one-time $500 stipend just to offset that kind of cost. But one of the things, men and women, half of our recipients are men, but the thing about it is too that we don't always think about is that it's actually illegal to leave your kid in daycare for longer than, I think in the state of Wisconsin, it might be 10 hours, but 12 is the max for sure. Mm-hmm. But we've had members get into legal issues because, like I said, we can have, all of a sudden a little, a twist of fate or traffic on the freeway and have a 8 to 9 hour day easily turn into a 12 or 13 hour day. So
yeah,
it gets
for
you
sure.
in legal trouble, man or woman.
And so, and the voucher, it gives people a little more flexibility for dealing with that particular issue.
I mean, there's before and after care that might come into play. There might be ride shares, there might be things like that. But what it basically does is it takes, if monetarily that can offset some of the stress to help you just like concentrate more on like the job that you're doing, which these jobs are dangerous. Right. The tools that we work around are dangerous, the materials, the equipment, everything is definitely worth considering and definitely, paying attention to. So if we can take a little bit of the burden of stress off of a family, which is hopefully going to help them kind of like, bridge the gap and get into a situation where, who knows, maybe their kid's going to school now and they don't have to worry so much about the high cost of daycare.
And also just offering programs like this, like it's just a starting point, hopefully, mm-hmm. as the culture change in general throughout our communities and everything, the construction industry should be starting to catch up to the cultural changes. But to shed some light on that, this is a huge problem and a huge barrier for families in general, like just being able to give these stipends as a jumping off point will hopefully start creating some conversation about how we can do it even better to make sure that we can have enough workers to be able to put on job sites to build all of these projects that are coming down the pipeline here. Because without the childcare and some reasonable accommodations for everybody involved, the construction industry will suffer. So this is a jumping off point, and hopefully we can only build from here, start with stipends and $500 to family members, and then build it from there.
Yeah, starting the conversation is so critically important because I think there are a lot of things that just have never been talked about in the industry. And so that's a key role that you're playing, which is so important. So we talked a little bit about mentorship. I'm wondering, Christina, can you tell us a little bit more about how empowHER's mentorship program works?
So empowHER, we built a mentoringship pilot program basically, and it was kind of an outline of how to tailor a mentoring program to the construction industry specifically. There's lots of different ways that you can mentor somebody, and we wanted to build it around what we experienced in the field as apprentices coming through the industry. So the program that we built is supposed to be able to be taken and be tailored to work with your local or your trade. So we worked with a professor at the UW School for Workers and built this curriculum and kind of paired people, so mentees and mentors, and we trained those mentors They went through a specific training to make sure that they were qualified and they understood the responsibility that was going to be in front of them. And then it was set up to be multi-trade, so you could pair a drywaller with a plumber, and we did make a bunch of different pairs. And then I kind of took that model back to Local 75, and I paired some journeymen with apprentices, and we have all kind of been like meeting every 6 weeks and taking all that curriculum and tailoring it specifically to Local 75 needs, which was kind of the whole point of building this mentoring curriculum, is to make sure that you're able to establish open lines of communication for women coming into the trades where they wouldn't feel like they were all on their own their first year apprentice. So we've kind of been meeting every 6 weeks, like I said, and just talking about ups and downs and hot topics for the construction industry, and making sure that everybody feels like they have a place within our industry.
Wow. So it's really interesting that you actually developed a mentorship curriculum and trained your mentors. Can you tell us a little bit more about why you decided to do that?
I think we decided to do that mainly because each person has such a different experience as they go through their trade. Every individual is going to have a different apprenticeship, no matter if it's 3 plumbers talking or if it's plumber, drywaller, cement mason, whatever it is. And we want to make sure that the mentoring has a positive and solution-based outcome, and we're not having those mentors projecting bias information based on negative experiences that they had in their past. We want to make sure that they understand that there are places that you can reach out for solutions and give them the tools that they need to be able to reach for that help. So
awesome. So I know that leadership for women in construction is also a major initiative for empowHER, and the two of you are both very visible and powerful leaders in your locals and in the industry. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you go about promoting leadership for women in construction?
I mean, I'll say we definitely, we have a wide kind of like representation of leaders throughout our group. I know we're all really humble about it, but I know that we do have a bunch of really kick-ass, women that come together, and we definitely, we're not shouting it from the rooftops, but we're definitely doing what we can do to kind of like build each other up and lift up each other's successes and like draw attention, not to just, share within our own circle, but to just show other people that it's like, this is a reality and this is what can happen. And we're just, normal people that are, committed to this work and to these careers. And we've had different experiences, but we all come together to kind of like share, what we've learned and just kind of like spread the word. But we definitely do a good job of, making sure when somebody does get, promoted into a certain spot or win an election or achieves a new kind of like level of success in one way or another, that we hype it up and we do it, do what we need to do to celebrate with each other. But just, the important part of that is that, the little girls around or the newer people to the industry are able to kind of like have that, thing that they can see that they can be too. I mean, not to sound cheesy about it, but that's a reality. I feel like that's a lot of people, how a lot of people got into this and continue to do it. When we, just really closely, when we look at who we want to have on our, we have a board of directors that manages our group and makes the decisions. And we look for people that have, shown interest, but have also like shown up to do the work and that make themselves visible like we all have, and that have, been, interested to participate in career fairs and speak up and, do whatever they have to do to like be good examples of like what you can be if you remain involved. So
another thing that's kind of interesting about how empowHER is set up is we have such a a wide range of people throughout the state. That if you have, you talking to somebody at a sporting event or, out to dinner or something, and they're like, oh, my granddaughter really wants to get into the trades, but she doesn't know what trade or who she wants it, or, who she can talk to or how she would even start that. And you're just like, well, let me get with my empowHER network and we can basically call up anybody that we see coming up in leadership roles and also kind of give that person that's already in the trade an opportunity to build their leadership skills by talking and mentoring somebody that might be coming in. So it's always harder to go back to teaching. It's harder to teach to your peers than it is to apprentices. So teach to other journeymen. So if you're an apprentice coming up and you want to talk about the trade or how you've gotten to where you've come from, if you're talking to someone who has no idea about the trades yet and just is interested, that's a great jumping off point to start you getting comfortable to be in somewhat of a leadership role model mentoring place. So kind of building those skills.
Yeah, absolutely. And the leadership part of it is so important from a visibility perspective too, so that, as you mentioned, that other girls and women can see that women can do these jobs. And one of you touched on this earlier, that you want to spread the message that it doesn't matter like how big you are or how small you are, you can do this job. And I'd really like to ask both of you to share a little bit about some techniques that people who may be small of stature can use to be successful in the industry, because that's one of the most common arguments I hear from people, that, oh, well, women aren't strong enough to work in the trade and they're not interested in working in the trades because they're not strong enough. And I don't think that's true, because I know a lot of very successful women in the trades. But if you can each tell us a little bit about why that's not true, and what are some techniques and resources that are out there to help people who maybe aren't giant football players be successful in your trades?
I talk about this to women and men, as a matter of fact, because it does intimidate people, no matter what your gender is. But I like to tell the story of, like, I can remember myself being like a new, young person, like 18 years old, and, being faced with the fact that this is what I'm going to have to do all day, every day. And, just thinking to myself, I don't know how I'm going to make it through this. I don't know how I'm going to do it. But, and if you can imagine, like, on a highway paving job, like, anything you have to do like a million times. Like, it's just keeping going, and it's hours and hours, and you look way back in the distance or way, ahead in front of you, and you see, like, many, many times that you're going to have to take a certain type of action. And I just know, looking back, when I thought days, the days in the very beginning that I thought were going to kill me, are like, I could look back now and be like, oh, I could do that, no problem. And I'm not any bigger, and I'm, just a lot better at it. Nothing gets easier. You just get a lot better at it. You get yourself into better shape automatically, but there's also definitely things that you can do, like paying attention to your nutrition and your sleep. And you're almost like an athlete that works 10 times harder than an actual athlete does, because you get, 8 to 10 to 12 hours a day of this activity, and you don't have a nutritionist or a coach or time to be at the, working out or whatever it is. But definitely paying attention to, like, how you moving mindfully, focusing on things, like I said, like nutrition. You don't have to stop at Quick Trip for, the Red Bull and pack of smokes or whatever. You can make better choices. I mean, that's being a little bit facetious about it, but it's true. It's very true. So, like I said, moving mindfully, paying attention to how you do things, and understanding that the more you do something, the better you'll get at it, is critical, no matter what size you are. So
I always talk about a lot of body mechanics with my apprentices. I think that's a very interesting topic, and also super, super important. Knowing, like, how to get leverage on something. Like, if I have a pipe wrench and I just, like, 2-inch gas pipe and I'm having a hard time breaking it loose or whatever, like, knowing that you can extend that lever and be able to push more force on it because you've extended the lever, and understanding some physics of things and learning from And those are a lot of the tricks I learned from my journeyman mentors when I was just working with me and them. And so really listening and learning from people training you and asking how to do something if you're struggling, because they might not even realize that that's something that someone of your stature may struggle with, because you might be being trained by a 250 pound, 6'4" man. You never know. But really also just keeping, like Kilah said, your nutrition and, making sure you're drinking enough water, getting sleep. But another thing I talk about all the time too is really thinking about like your core strength and doing some prehab possibly. So, doing some planks and making sure that you're taking care of your core and maybe doing some shoulder exercises. Like these are physically demanding jobs. And I have told a million people, work is not your workout. You are going to have to train and prepare to be physically active all day long. It's so important to make sure that you have mobility and you're able to be flexible and you're not like super tight everywhere, because that's not helpful either. So even like I've, pretty small apprentices, and they move a lot more material on a daily basis than people who are doing the Red Bull and pack of smokes a day, because they're taking care of themselves and making sure that they can move all day long without injury. So,
yeah, I love the analogy to professional athletes. I think that's a really good analogy, and just reminding people they have to train for it, like any other physical activity. So, solidarity for women, I know, is another really key issue for empowHER. Can you just tell us a little bit more about why that's important and how you go about building solidarity?
I think it's probably something we all kind of experience. I know when I started, there was plenty of times when I was the only female on the crew, and then along the way or down the line, there are a few of us here and there, and through kind of like meeting up at TWBN, Tradeswomen Building the Nation, and other types of events like that, you see that there are more of us out there. But I know for myself too, when I was younger and a little bit less mature mentally and physically, everything like that, there was a little bit more like internal competition. Like, if it was me and another girl on the job, it would be like, oh, one of us is the good one of us is the bad one. And it's like, that was kind of like used as like a fun thing for others, probably the men, to like play up and like watch this kind of like fire burn, when it was just like the joke's on, that's not necessarily a healthy mindset. It's totally the opposite of a healthy mindset, actually. And, I feel like it's definitely something that we as an industry, need to kind of like move past. And I feel like we're definitely making progress, but that's one of our, if you want to say challenges, or why we want to be sure to not be a waste of anybody's time, and that we want to have always like fresh and relevant things to say and not get into man bashing sessions and complaining sessions, is that the people that are in this industry are like hardworking, like intense people that don't have a lot of spare time on their hands. So what we want to project is that like we're all on the same team, we're all working on, working towards the same goals, and that we're here for each other, and that this feels good. Like this is a thing that feels good. Like I can, speak for myself 100% when I say that some of these, most of these women are like some of my really good friends, and like some of my best friends, and some of the coolest relationships I've built. So being able to have others experience that is cool to see, and, cool to be a part of. And I think the extra cool side of it is that we like our jobs more. And we feel better about being in our jobs, and where it makes it easier for us to spread the word in the community. So it's not like, oh, here, come join us, and then before you know it, you're in this really, toxic social like situation where it's not healthy, right? We don't want to do that. So, yeah, there's something that I feel like we've had to fight through, but it's gone in a positive way. There's still people that probably don't want to, bother with organizations like ours, but, we're still here if they need us at some point. So,
yeah, for from my standpoint, I think, when you get into a trade and you get into an apprenticeship, that's going to consume so much of your time. Like Kilah said, like this is your whole life. Like it's a career. It's not just a job. And when you immerse yourself in this construction culture, it does change you a little bit. So I went from being a college student where I had, my roommates, my volleyball team, and all the things that I did. And then I jumped into the trades, and all of a sudden this is, my entire life, my whole existence. It's what I find interesting. It's what I want to talk about. It's what I want to collaborate with people on. And having some of that solidarity between women in the construction industry and being able to share those really exciting high moments of your day with people that can even understand what you're talking about, because the rest of my family and my college roommates and, my best friends from growing up have no clue what I'm talking about, why I'm excited, why that's an accomplishment, and being able to share those really high things with people that are going through similar experiences to you in a lot of different ways is super cool. And then also when you have a really bad day, being able to explain to those same people why that really sucked. And them being like, yeah, I know, I hear you. This is how I got through it. If I can share with you or whatever, but it's just having some common ground between people where, the rest of the world, we're only like 2% of the construction industry. There's not a lot of people that are going to know what we're talking about when we get excited about, some little thing on our job site. So
Yeah, that's a really good point, because construction is its own animal. And women are just so vastly outnumbered, which I think also a lot of people don't know. That statistic that you just mentioned, Christina, that only 2% of the women in the field, or I'm sorry, 2% of the people in the field are women. So you're often the only woman on your job site, or even the only woman in your apprenticeship program. So having someone else who can relate to you is so important. Wonderful. Sure. Well, so you've answered all the questions that I could think of, but I'm wondering if either or both of you have anything else you would like our audience members to know about anything.
I mean, I would just say, like if there's something of interest, like Christina mentioned before, within our group of empowHER, like we have plenty of answers and plenty of resources to get to answers. So if one of us, and we're all happy to, I talked to a woman, just a few days ago, she's like, oh, I might be interested in this. I might be interested in that. I'm like, I can connect you to my friend Michelle, who's a Sparky. I can connect you to my friend Christina, who's a plumber, and you guys can, hash it out. Like it's not far off in more than a few, text messages or phone call away to get, where people need to get. And if you have any questions, like that's what we're here for. And that's what, that's what our jobs are to do, especially, in, those of us that are staff or that are, parts of these organizations that are just a little bit more than just like your average member. So don't hesitate to call, don't hesitate to reach out, and people are happy. It's intimidating because it's different, but it's definitely, you'll definitely be, warmly welcomed, and we'll do whatever we can do to help you out.
I think just like asking people who have been through it is a huge thing that people should do before they get into the trades. There's pre-apprenticeship and youth apprenticeship. But to make sure that you really want to do what you're getting into, it'd be great. empowHER would be a great resource for anybody. And even though we're a group of women, like Kilah was alluding to, we have such a deep bench that we can reach out to anybody. Like I could find any of my male apprentices or anybody to talk to anyone who is looking into a career in the trades. And it's a great career that, is going to give you awesome wages and great benefits, and you're going to be able to retire with dignity. And, things are hopefully only getting better from what I've seen since I started. It's been a very big change since 2010 to 2024. The huge changes that have been made in the construction industry in those 14 years is kind of interesting to see. So it'd be cool to see what happens in the next decade.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, and one thing I think that's useful for folks in the audience to know too is that empowHER is free to join. You meet monthly after work on a Wednesday, either via Zoom or in person, and everybody's welcome. empowHER has actually been very welcoming to me to just let me sit in and kind of be a fly on the wall to hear what tradespeople are talking about. So it's been really helpful to me, but I know that there are other people who aren't necessarily tradespeople who attend every month too. So I would encourage people who are thinking about going into the trades or thinking about a family member going into the trades to check out empowHER's website and learn more about the organization and attend some of those meetings and some of the other events. So I'm going to place in the show notes, I'll have a link to empowHER's website.
Perfect. Yep. No commitment. We don't, whenever you want to join, whenever you want to come to meetings or not, you're still a member. So,
yeah. In our membership meetings, we usually have a discussion topic and share some upcoming events and stuff. So you're not just being talked at. If you want to participate, you're more than welcome to. If you're just there to listen on behalf of someone else, let us know, and we'd be happy to have you be a fly on our wall. So all are welcome.
And also, Kilah does a really good job of keeping the meetings to 1 hour. I'm very focused on the agenda.
Critical.
Which I know everyone will appreciate because, as you mentioned, Christina, there are a lot of people who just don't have a lot of spare time. So it's a really well-run meeting. So I would encourage people to attend. Well, I really want to thank both of you for being here. This has been a very enlightening and inspiring conversation for me. And I also just want to thank you for the leadership you're showing in the community and raising up other women in the trades.
Thank you for having us. It was good to talk.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.